Alright y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Paranormal Journals, only here on Black Mass Paranormal. Now, I've been doing some work on my bike, getting it ready for another ride that I'm about to go do, and I wanted to pop in here and do a quick video for you all because I've had a lot of requests about me talking about my scariest moments doing paranormal investigating in the Appalachian Mountains. So for those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Brian. I've lived in East Tennessee all my life, minus the time that I was serving our great country. And I like to go out into the mountains of Appalachia where people report sightings of feral people, dogmen, Sasquatch, hauntings, disappearances, anything that you can think of that's a little bit scary. I like to go and check it out. So this here is the bike that I'm currently using to do a lot of my adventures. Now, I know, a lot of people think it looks like a moped. It's not a moped. This is actually the original trail bike made by Honda. Now, they reproduced this starting in 2022, and it is the CT125. It was based off a bike that they started developing in the 1970s called a CT70 or a CT90. That bike, true motorcycle enthusiasts have always garnered that bike as the original and best adventure bike out there. My dad purchased this shortly before he passed away. And then growing up, I had been riding all my life. And my dad and I always talked about getting a CT70 or CT90 to restore just to do it. Shortly before he passed, he bought the new CT125 and rode it, I think, a total of 22 miles. 22 miles is all he got into it. So I have put in over 1,000 on it. So it's pretty awesome. It's fun. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. I get asked a lot, what is my scariest experiences while I'm out on the trail? And to be honest with you, initially when I first started doing this, I always had that mentality. What's going to be my scary moment? Once they started happening to me, I realized that the events weren't necessarily scary. Yeah, I mean, they were kind of scary, but they were more disturbing than anything because it completely changes your view on the world, on our existence, and all of those ghost stories and things that you heard growing up. They all come from a monicum of truth. So something always happened. And once I started really taking this seriously and going out on these adventures, I learned really quick that it doesn't happen the way that you typically see it in the media. And my channel is a little bit different. We're going to go over my top 2 scariest moments that I've had while paranormal investigating. So the first one starts in an area known as Happy Valley. There was a man named Michael Heron who decides, as many as East Tennessee guys do, to hop on his four-wheeler for a minute and just kind of cruise around and enjoy himself for a second before he gets to work. Well, little did Michael Heron know that would be his last moment at the house. So Michael totally vanished without an explanation of really anything. There was no indication of foul play. There's nothing suggesting that he was murdered or even abducted. They ended up finding the four-wheeler in high gear, but no signs of an accident, no signs of Michael, nothing. He totally vanished, and to this day, they don't know what happened to him. So I went out in the forest in an area near Michael, and I had kind of been up in this area a couple times just kind of looking around. And as I'm moving up the trail, it's kind of like a fire trail, basically, is what this is. Because the park has to maintain access in case of a fire breaks out. So if a fire breaks out, they have to be able to get emergency vehicles to the locations to, one, evacuate anybody, and to get the fire and things under control. But these areas aren't really, they're not visited often. They're not, it's not like a trail that's visited, frequently by hikers, anything like that. So this is kind of on the other side and still a part of what I call the paranormal triangle that intersects in East Tennessee, North Carolina, and maybe some parts of Virginia. In this area, there's all kinds of crazy things happening, to include Kate's Cove. Kate's Cove and Spence Fields is an area where the infamous Dennis Martin disappeared, basically right in front of his family. So I'm out on this trail looking for evidence of, really, in my head, I was thinking I was going to find evidence of possibly like a portal or something, a cave system, some sort of explanation to why somebody could just vanish without a trace. So as I'm moving up this trail, I come to a spot and I stop because I just kind of had this feeling that I was being watched. You know how that feeling it is when you maybe go out somewhere and then you realize that you're not alone and that there's most likely somebody watching you? Well, that's exactly how I felt. As a paranormal investigator, for me, that's time for me to get out my gear and start investigating. So I was a pretty good distance into the mountains. I start looking around and then I happen to kind of notice what I thought was kind of a heel print, but it wasn't very big. So I looked a little bit closer and then I'm kind of looking up the trail and I see a bare human footprint in a location where nobody would be barefoot. It's all rocky. There's broken sticks, there's copperheads, there's timber rattlesnakes, there's all kinds of dangerous things in that area that you're just not gonna be barefoot in. So I look down and at that time I kind of catch a glimpse of something out of my eye. And it's like this little bit of movement. And as I'm trying to document the footprint a little bit more, it moves even more. So at that point, I recognize that there's something wrong here. My tri-field meter goes crazy. My lightning detector, which I use as a way of kind of trying to detect portal activity. I know it sounds kind of silly, but the idea with portals is they emit a massive amount of energy, similar to a lightning strike. So in theory, a lightning detector could pick up a possible portal forming. Now, then I get this crazy feeling, like it was just this almost sick feeling that I was about to get in a fight. Like my fight or flight instinct kicked on so hard at that moment that I haven't experienced anything like that since I was in the Army. That rush that enters your body and enters all of your senses just kind of lighten up. Your pupils are like dilating and they're like, your eyes are moving super fast, scanning the area. You can hear like a freaking pin drop in the middle of the forest. It's such an interesting phenomenon that happens with us. And then all of a sudden this scream comes out of the brush.
I've got movement over here. Holy fuck. What the fuck was that? Oh my god. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna die. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. Shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Son of a bitch. Yeah. Hang on. What the fuck now? That sound. Gee. Jesus Christ.
Now, I still, to this day, I'm not 100% sure the direction that the scream came from. I know it seemed to be kind of almost like right in front of me, but with the mountains, the way things are, it can kind of echo and throw things off when you're experiencing something like that. At that moment, I wanted to literally turn and take off running. but I had all of my gear, and I knew on my bike I had a bicycle helmet. Now, I got a lot of flack over this because I took time to put on my bicycle helmet. And I still stand by this decision today, that I was so convinced that I was going to be in some sort of fight that I needed to put on that helmet for my own advantage. Now, I had a firearm on me. I always carry a firearm with me. I had a knife. I had plenty of weapons to defend myself, including an e-mountain bike. But at that moment, I was still absolutely terrified. I had another experience shortly before this as well. I was in kind of like a different area. And this is why I had all of this other portal detecting equipment. I was in another part of the area, and I lost all electronics that I was using. My camera didn't work. My e-bike didn't work. My GPS stopped working. My lightning detector, my radiation detector, all of that stuff stopped working.
Not necessarily a cave system, but a tunnel system. Alright, y'all, so I don't know what the fuck just happened to me. I was down the trail about a mile away from here where I'm at now. It found a nice spot next to the creek. You know, the water was really high, so I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to cross it. It was really calm. There wasn't any uncomfortableness, I guess you could say. And then all of a sudden something started like charging through the woods. All of my electronics completely shut off. I had to pedal the highboy out. It's working now. Both of my cameras went completely dead. Like shut down dead, like turned completely off. I've never had that happen to me before. Ever. I wasn't able to get going fast enough really to get through that creek. And now I am soaked. Absolutely soaked.
All of it. So I am absolutely terrified that the motor on the e-bike that I'm on is going to go out as this thing attacks me. And to this day, I think it was a feral person. And I believe I've identified a clan of feral people that are living within the Appalachian Mountains. So what I do is I get my helmet on, I'm throwing my gear into my bag as soon as I can, as quickly as I can, as a means of protection as well. I kind of got a little bit of flack at that too, but what I was essentially trying to do was pad as much as I could into like one location in case I needed to use it kind of as a shield or something like that. I was really trying to put myself in the best possible position to be able to fight off something like this. So I jump on the bike. I am just pedaling. I have that thing just going full freaking wide open, trying to get the hell out of these mountains. That entire ride was much more scary than the actual scream that I had heard, because when you're on an e-bike like that or on a motorcycle like this, you're kind of vulnerable. It's very easy for something to just plow you and just take you, right off of the bike. From that moment on, I've been really kind of almost scared to go into this area, because there's just so much evidence to suggest that there's something else going on. other that we do not really know. There's several people go missing. There's several people have just traumatic experiences. At one point, I did find a massive cage even set up in this area. I don't know what they were trapping. It could be wild pigs, but I've never seen a cage that big. And it was square. It wasn't a round pig cage, you know. So that is what it is. My second most terrifying experience that I had happened recently.